3, 2, 1.
You ready?
You're listening to the Real Pineapple Podcast Network.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. This is the Real Pineapple. This is your humble host, Hunter. Hope you're all having a great start to your new year, and we made it to 2022. Holy hell! Can't believe we made it. But I'm sending nothing but good vibes, prayers, and energy to you and all your loved ones. Please stay safe out there as we start a new year. I've got a review. It's been a couple weeks. I've been sitting on this review for that reason, because full spoilers, by the way, we are diving into Hawkeye, which is, of course, show ran by Jonathan Igla. You know him from a couple things. He went ahead and worked on Mad Men, Sorry for Your Loss, which, of course, starred Elizabeth Olsen, which if you have not watched Sorry for Your Loss, I highly recommend you do. And then Bridgerton, of course. Some people kind of like that show. But I gotta say, as we kind of dive in here, the film, or the miniseries, of course, stars Jeremy Renner reprising his MCU role as Clint Barton. You, of course, know him from Mission Impossible: Ghost Protocol, the Bourne Legacy, which, you know, he totally came back for more of those. Of course, the big one that I always go to is Kill the Messenger and Wind River. If you've not seen Kill the Messenger, pause this and go watch Kill the Messenger. Kill the Messenger is absolutely wonderful. Great double feature of American Made, by the way. But I digress. So, going into this show, I was really curious about a couple things, because if you've listened to the podcast for any length of time throughout me talking about the MCU and everything, one of the big swings I took during our in-game review, and I want to say it's around the 2-hour mark because that's a long freaking review, but one of the things I said is we're gonna end up dealing with the fallout of Clint being Ronin, because we kind of have to, considering he's going around, you know, slaughtering mob families and mobsters. And that's exactly what this show does in admittedly a different way than I thought they would, but I still was stoked on the way they did it. But we go ahead and we jump in here with Kate Bishop, who goes ahead and, to start off the show, destroys this clock tower. Good job, kid. Kate Bishop, of course, played by Haley Steinfeld, you know, from the Pitch Perfect movies, Edge of 17, my favorite film of that year, and Dickinson, which I believe just actually ended. If you have not seen Dickinson, go watch Dickinson. I know most people don't have Apple TV, except for when Ted Lasso is on, but go watch Dickinson. It's great shit. But her and her mom, they're living together in this incredible penthouse. Her mom, of course, played amazingly by why do I always forget her name? Vera Farmiga, who, of course, you know from Conjuring, Bates Motel, up in there. And the thing I really appreciate about their friendship is that as you're watching the show, you're kind of like, all right, there's a shoe here that hasn't dropped yet. And you're pretty sure where the shoe is going to come from and how it's going to drop. But as I've said on the podcast many times, it's not always about the actual plot point. It's about the destination to get there. And Kate is what you would expect any mid-early 20s-year-old to be. There's this point where Eleanor flat out says, you know, that, you know, you're a kid. I understand that you think you're indestructible, and that there are no consequences for your actions. But fun fact, both those things aren't true. And I kind of love that, honestly. I appreciate the fact that she was just kind of terrible at points to Kate. And of course, that leads to her twists later on. But I appreciate the fact that Eleanor is trying to do the single mom thing. She's also trying to get laid because she she ends up hooking up with Tony Dalton's Jack, and you of course know him from Better Call Saul, most likely. And I will say, Tony Dalton got, first off, the mustache, fucking beautiful. Oh my god, I have not seen him with a mustache, but goddamn, it is pretty. And I loved his character. I think the character is underutilized, but I did appreciate what he brought to the character, even though the script at points does him no favors. Just a very naturally charismatic dude, and I hope we do get to see more of him. But a couple things that this show does really well, and one of the first things the show does really well, and something that throughout Phase 4 has been a big thing, whether we're talking about No Way Home, whether we're talking about WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I love how the MCU post-Endgame is addressing PTSD. When you look at Sam Wilson and Bucky being blipped out of existence and then coming back, you know, being a black man, trying to handle the mantle of Captain America, Bucky dealing with, you know, his past sins, and, you know, him talking about the fact that he recognizes and remembers every face of every person that he killed, to the fact that Kate being a kid back in 2012, I think they say she's 7 or 8, and she witnesses her dad killed in front of her because 2012, that's the Battle of New York. And you just kind of go, damn, she had to deal with this shit as a kid. And it's really quite heartbreaking. And I love the way that they completely explain her idolization of Hawkeye just in that one scene, because he's one of the people, you know, he's the one who saved her and her mom. And it's such a beautifully tragic moment that you just go, huh, okay. And that leads to Kate deciding that she never wanted to feel helpless again. So she starts taking martial arts. She starts taking archery. And you go, okay, this is, I really like this. It is heavily based on Asia, I can't remember if it says Asia or Asia, but it's heavily based on their Hawkeye run from 2012 to 2015, right down to the artwork in the credit scenes, which I thought was a very nice touch. So if you enjoyed the show, highly recommend you go read the run. It's kind of fucking amazing. But I love the way it goes ahead and sets up the PTSD. And Clint, let's be clear, Clint was willing to sacrifice himself to go ahead and save the world and get the Soul Stone. And I appreciate the fact that he hasn't really had a chance to actually deal with Natasha's death, because as the whole PTSD thing has taught us here in Phase 4 is, you know, when you're a hero, when the hell do you have that time to even decompress and try to get over what you've gone through? And watching Clint out with his family in the first episode, where they're watching Rogers the musical, which, can we just talk real quick about the fact that I didn't know I needed a Steve Rogers musical in my life. And I know a lot of people were pissed off about, you know, us not getting a post-credit scene that teases where we're going. I love this musical. Like, I thought this musical was excellent. And the more I was sitting there watching it after the post-credits, I really was thinking, damn, I could use more of that. Honestly, I could really use more of this. And I was bummed. I was actually bummed. I was like, oh, I could have used more of that, but that's okay. But I love the fact that, much like the comic run that I mentioned, it does it really quickly. Just talks about how Clint is losing his hearing, so he's needing to use a hearing aid. And I can't remember if it's, I think it's someone randomly who's talking to him who goes like, oh, why do you need that? And, you know, it flashes back to, you know, Age of Ultron and Avengers and Endgame, where, you know, all these explosions are going off around him, like these loud ass, you know, buildings falling, aliens shooting at him. And you kind of go, Yeah, this would just kind of be collateral damage, very Sound of Metal style in that sense of, you keep doing this shit over and over and you're around that intense of loud noise, eventually something might just fucking, might just break. And, again, simple way to go ahead and get to why he's using a hearing aid, but it was something I appreciate they addressed and that he's not just, doesn't just have it. But long story short, Kate goes ahead and gets in possession of the Ronin costume. It's being sold at a black market auction. She goes ahead and beats some guys up in the Ronin costume. She's captured on the news by the Tracksuit Mafia, going ahead and showing footage of the Ronin. I believe on the newscast they say it's been like 5 years, which would make sense because blip. And go figure, now that puts Clint back in the game because, oh crap, if anyone knows who Ronin is, which, someone might, then they could come after my family and I. So Clint goes ahead to hunt Kate down so that they can go ahead and put this all behind them and figure out what's going on. So it's a very simple setup, and most of episode 1, maybe even partially in episode 2, I would say is all setup. Maybe more so than any of the other MCU shows. I would say the pacing on this series is probably, let me think, because if I'm saying Falcon Winter Soldier, Loki, Hawkeye, and then WandaVision, I would say this is the third best pacing. I like the pacing in Loki better. Admittedly, it kind of having the mystery aura / being Marvel, Doctor Who does kind of help it digest a little better. I was just invested in Falcon Winter Soldier from jump because I just love the spy elements and the political thriller aspect that the MCU brings. Hawkeye is just a little slow because we're reestablishing Clint, we're setting up Kate, we're setting up a new character who's going ahead and getting their own show in Alaqua Cox's Echo, who, let me just gush about her real quick. This is her first major role. Apparently this is her first role, like, maybe period, but she's a Native American actress. She's only 24, and goddamn, the sky's the limit for her. She is awesome, and there is a physicality that Echo brings to this show. All the fight stuff that she's getting to do, I think I have the timestamp here. 44 minutes and 42 seconds into episode 2. Pause it at that moment. It is one of my favorite shots in the entire Disney Plus TV shows that we've gotten, because it's just a shot of her with her hand on one of the speakers and just letting the sound play because, she's deaf. And so the room is covered in red. It's almost Black Widow Red Room looking, but it's just her letting the light of the room engulf her while she's hearing the rhythm of the music. And it is a pristine, maybe my favorite shot in the whole show, honestly. I absolutely love that fucking shot. It is fucking beautiful. And we already know that she's getting her own show, thank God. And hell yeah, I cannot wait to see what she does. But as far as her in this show, she is what Mackenzie Davis was in Terminator Dark Fate, but done even better. She has this very natural charisma, even though she is signing the whole time and not speaking, which they give you subtitles for. But I love the way that she signs. Like, it's soft. It's almost, I want to say soft, but it's gentler in the more emotional moments at points. But when she's angry, the signing is very aggressive. A very subtle thing, but I love it. And she sells so much of the character just through her facial expressions. There's a fight between her and Ronin. Clint puts the Ronin suit back on in episode 5, and they have this fight in this car yard that is very reminiscent of Daredevil in the way that it's shot and the way that it's framed, and how Ronin's kind of jumping in and out of the darkness. And that fight scene was so fucking badass. But she has this vendetta against Clint, because Ronan went ahead and killed her father. So she's just tunnel vision, focus, like, I'm gonna fuck this dude up and kill him. And I love how vengeful she is. And that's kind of just an overall theme of the show, is how vengeance at the end of the day doesn't satisfy. I mean, I guess it could. Not in this show. Here it does not. But her tunnel vision, as far as wanting to fuck Clint's shit up, it's actually kind of admirable, to be honest, in how focused she is. But I absolutely loved her character. There's a scene, because she has a lot of scenes with Frafi's Kazi, who's like her second command. And you know him from the latest Cinderella film, which wasn't good, but, they can't all be winners. He was in Les Mis back in 2012, which was obviously good. But him and her, they have really good chemistry back and forth. I wish I could have gotten a little more of it, but for the story, it does what it needs to. The last scene that they have together in the season finale, it's a heartbreaker. Because she is so about, like, look, I need to get out of this life and what I'm doing, but I don't want to do it without you. And Kazi is just kind of like, yeah, fuck you. I don't get to be like you. And it's really quite tragic. And the way that they go ahead and flesh in these flashbacks for her, I want to say it's episode 3, where the episode opens up and she's in school as a kid, and you just see that she can't hear her teacher, and just how that bell goes off, and the conversation she has with her dad about, I thought I was going to be able to go to the deaf school and be able to fit in with kids my age. And this is one of my favorite lines in the whole show. Her dad flat out says that it's impossible for you to fit in with kids your age. You're one of a kind. And I just went, God damn, like, it's so simple, but it was something that really warmed my heart. It just made me go, yeah, I feel bad for this character. My biggest complaint, I will say, before I get into kind of the back half of stuff I really fucking love and where I think stuff is going, the Tracksuit Mafia, the big issue with them is that they're basically putties from Power Rangers. Like, they are in no way a threat to Clint and to Clint and Kate. And so because of that, there's this point where you go, all right, there's something clearly big that you're holding off on for this back half of the show. And of course, that big thing is motherfucking Vincent D'Onofrio back in the saddle as Wilson Fisk, aka the Kingpin, which he's name dropped as Kingpin in here, which makes me think the Netflix shows could be canon, but we'll get into that in a second. So let's just talk about D'Onofrio real quick. So Vincent D'Onofrio, 62 years old, which is shocking to me. He does not look 62, but D'Onofrio, he's kind of a G in this. And one of my biggest gripes with this show is that because the Tracksuit Mafia is a Tracksuit Mafia, something big has to be in this back half. But I do wish they would have brought D'Onofrio's Fisk in maybe episode 4. And you could just sprinkle him in. Like, I don't even need him to be, I don't need him to be a big part in each episode. But because you introduce him at the very end of episode 5 through a photograph, and then we only get him in episode 6, I think having him interacting specifically with the Tracksuit Mafia and, kind of being like, motherfuckers, you need to, nip this Kate, Clint shit in the bud. I think if we have even 2 or, like, I would even say 2 scenes in episode 4, 2 scenes in episode 5, even if we get that, that's something. And I think that makes the Tracksuit Mafia feel more like a threat independent of the finale. because when you get to the finale and Kingpin is in the game, you're like, oh, they're working for him. They feel more like a threat. But you can establish that earlier on, and I think the back half of the show is stronger because of that. So I was like, show, damn. Like, I wanted more of that. So, again, just a peeve of mine. With that said, I think the reason you don't do that, to an extent, and I'm not letting them completely off the hook, is because we get Yelena back in the fold, of course, played by Florence Pugh, which, happy for birthday, Florence Pugh, you fucking badass. You, of course, know her from Midsummer, Little Women, the 2019 version, which, if you haven't seen it, you should. It's great. And, yeah, Fighting With My Family, where she played WWE superstar Paige, or former WWE superstar Paige. I don't think she's signed there anymore. Florence Pugh is a G. And that Russian accent, I thought it was really good to great in Black Widow. She pretty much has it down here. Like, there's this way where she even goes, Kate Bishop, and I'm not even going to try to match the octave, but when the Russian, it never feels like it slips. She doesn't have a Civil War moment, Elizabeth Olsen style. Like, she's keeping up the accent the whole time. And what I love about this, and this is admittedly, I think, a bit of a plot hole, we find out in the show that Eleanor went ahead and hired Yelena to kill Clint. At the end of Black Widow, we see Julie Louis-Dreyfus's Val be the one to go, hey, this is who killed your sister. So was oh my gosh, was Eleanor reaching out to Val to tell her that? Or is that just a plot hole? Like, that will just never connect. Again, not a huge deal, but it was something I kind of went, wait, but if you told me this, then what? Okay. So a little clarification on that would be nice, but what I love about Yelena being back in the fold is that Clint tells a story about how when he was working for S.H.I.E.L.D. and Natasha was going ahead and working for, bad people, that he was ordered to go ahead and take her down and kill her. And he talks about how that's like the one shot he never took, and how it's something that he's so grateful that he didn't do, because, he gained this whole incredible friendship with Natasha and everything, and they both ended up working for S.H.I.E.L.D. and all that because he didn't kill her. And there's this great fight scene between Echo, Yelena, Clint, and Kate. Yelena flat out rocking her goggles look from the comic, which I just went, oh, that's so cool that they let her be, female Sam Fisher for a bit. Like, it's so reminiscent of Splinter Cell, but I love they took that from the comic. I was so happy that was in here. But Kate has a chance technically to at least shoot Yelena. Now, Yelena's a Black Widow. I'm sure she would have done, some backflip or shit to avoid the shot. But the fact that Kate doesn't take that shot, it's exactly what Clint didn't do. We're gonna get Yelena and Kate working together at some point. That could be the female version of Bucky and Sam, just this total wonderful kind of, 80s buddy action cop movie, because the bits we get of Yelena and Kate working together or just talking are some of my favorite scenes in the entire show. There's this scene where after that fight on the roof, I want to say it's episode 4, maybe it's the opening of episode 5, maybe. I can't remember, 4 or 5. I think it's 5, but episode opens up with Kate and Yelena having this conversation over boxed macaroni and cheese, which Yelena had made, waiting for Kate to come back to her apartment that got almost burned down. I love that conversation. It goes a little long, but it's them being very matter of fact with each other, and Yelena being like, hey, it's my first time in New York, I want to see Rudolph, and oh, American Christmas is so cool. And they have this whole conversation about Clint, and it gets very real, and you're sitting there like, okay, this is about as pleasant as you could be with threatening someone. Because make no mistake about it, that's exactly what they end up doing. Yelena flat out tells her, like, hey, like, don't get in my way again, bitch. Like, it's one of those things you go, all right, yeah, I mean, she's giving you fair warning, but there's such a charm to Florence Pugh's Yelena in this. Very similar to Black Widow, but I think she's even better in this than she is in Black Widow, and I loved her in Black Widow. But there's this point where they even talk about eating reindeer, and Kate kind of retorts, oh, I haven't had the pleasure of eating reindeer, and without missing a beat, Yelena goes, oh, trust me, it's no pleasure. And it's like, it's little things like that. I can't wait until these two are friends. I'm already anticipating when they go ahead and end up working together, because obviously they will, which, again, I'm hyped, give me that. But and then they end up having a pretty badass fight in the finale, where Kate gets the shit kicked out of her, almost like she was getting kicked into that pit from 300. But she retorts back and responds by giving this really cool body throw that even Yelena goes, but you got me with that body throw. And they go, and she's like, that was good. It's so wonderfully, weirdly charming. It made me really happy to see Florence Pugh and Haley Steinfeld, because the moment I heard Haley Steinfeld was going to play Kate Bishop, I went, oh, that's a fucking lock. That's a brilliant piece of casting. And Florence Pugh, already one of the best actresses we have. So seeing two actresses that I believe 30 years from now will still be in the game making incredible movies, film, music, because I think they both sing. I'm excited that we're in this moment that we get to see them continue to evolve as characters. I'm really happy about that. But independent of that, let me think of what else. The fight scenes, overall, dug them. Really enjoy them. There's a car chase scene in episode 3, and one of the things that's always, and I brought this up in Loki, one thing that I do love about the MCU is that these characters are continuing to evolve and not just be stagnant. And at this point, even with 10 years, or almost 10 years of Clint Barton in the MCU, one thing that I love is that we're still getting to learn more about him. Not just the whole PTSD aspect, but we get to see him be more of a dad in this movie. And shout out to my man Bradley up in Canada. One of the things he's always given me shit for is, oh my god, Hunter, we don't know anything about Hawkeye's family. And we get to see his family more in action. And seeing Clint just be a dad really does endear you more to him, and it just makes me really happy, and it was really cool to see the family aspect played up here more in this show. I haven't mentioned her yet, but Linda Cardellini, just, my god, I just love her. She plays, of course, Laura Barton, and I'll get to something about her character here in just a second. But one thing I love about the relationship, and most of it's done over phone call because Clint sends his kids, away from him, which I love the fact he did that, because that was something about the tax collector, which sucks, by the way, but that was something about the tax collector that drove me nuts, is the moment the main character was in danger, he doesn't send his family away. Clint does that shit like the next scene. He's like, oh shit, Ronan's on TV. All right, kids, back to the farm you go. But I went, good, a hero that's not being fucking stupid. Thank you, show, for actually addressing this. But what I love about Clint and Laura as partners in this show is that we get to see Laura like speaking different languages and kind of knowing protocol in a way that I went, that's interesting. Like, yeah, you would pick up stuff obviously if you're married to a spy or former SHIELD agent, but I was sitting there going, that's very interesting. Why she seems very confident in everything she's saying. That's odd. And one of probably the biggest thing I would say for me that I got in the finale is that she worked for SHIELD. At worst, she works for S.H.I.E.L.D. At best, she's Mockingjay. Or Mockingbird, pardon me. And that's gonna be something that I'm really curious if they follow up on that. Because the big distinction, at least in the comics, is that, Bobby Morse, Bobby Mockingbird Morse, is the one who's Agent 19 in the comics, primarily. They could even go, if they wanted to, though, and go, hey, Mockingbird's kind of like, pardon me, Mockingbird's kind of like a mantle, kind of like, 007, it's just something that we've used. So they could do that, but I don't recall in the comics, or not in the comics, I don't recall in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. them ever addressing Bobby as Mockingbird on the show. I think they just call her Bobby the whole time. So that could be their workaround. They could create their whole, their own version of Mockingbird if they wanted to, and say that it used to be, Mrs. Barton. Which, if they do that, right the fuck on. If they want to go ahead and kind of explore it that way, if I can get some flashbacks of Linda Cardellini, working of S.H.I.E.L.D., yeah, give me that, please. I'd be very happy with that. So that was something I went, it feels like they're going to go somewhere with that, especially with the Secret Wars around the corner, which I think is filming now, actually. So yeah, who knows? Maybe she's already there. But I'm going to go kind of rapid fire here as I get to my final thoughts. There's this scene of Clint and Kate bonding over Christmas sweaters and frozen margaritas and Christmas movies, which I thought was so fucking cute. I love that scene because that's where Clint kind of starts to get real with himself and realize that, man, I've gone through a lot of shit that I just have not addressed and tried to get over. And this show really is about Clint moving on and finding that peace, or the, whatever the closest, thing is, to peace for him. I love that. I love that so much. And it was one of those things that I just went, I know some people might just kind of go like, whatever, this is lame. But because of how much it's leaning into the Christmas stuff, and it leans heavily into the Christmas shit, I love that. Like, I actually love the fact that scene's in there. And it just made me go like, yep, this is just another reason for me to dig this show. Throwing out other stuff, I love that the very clear Amazing Spider-Man Family Business reference for Fisk, for Kingpin's costume, the Hawaiian shirt with the white suit. I fucking love that. It looks so great on screen, and with all the Christmas colors and everything, it looks wonderful. I love how we got Kate's comic accurate, extremely comic accurate costume. That's already been introduced. I'm curious how they'll evolve. Good grief, the costumes. Really excited to see those. How that changes up. That's going to be so much fun to watch. I'm so excited. I mentioned him earlier, but Tony Dalton's Jack. I love the fact that he's a swordsman, because that's such a niche reference to his actual character in the comic, who is a swordsman. I love that. He doesn't get the costume yet. I hope he gets the costume, but I'm really excited to see that if they go ahead and follow up with that. But that was something that made me genuinely happy. Independent of that, and I know some people are freaking out about this, there is, of course, this scene near the end of the episode, to wrap everything up, where Echo has Kingpin at gunpoint, and we hear a gun go off. So gunshot happens. But let's be clear. For as much as people have been wanting Fisk, the Kingpin, introduced into the MCU proper, myself included, you can go back to my in-game review. I actually call the fact I think that Fisk was going to be introduced as a villain to go against Hawkeye. So you can go back and listen to that. I called this shit a couple years ago. Boom! But The big thing, though, there's no way Fisk is dead. There's no goddamn way they would bring D'Onofrio back just for one episode and then kill him off. That would be beyond stupid. And if for some reason that is what Marvel does, I will come right back on here and talk about how fucking dumb Marvel was for that dumbass decision. But trust me, there's an Echo show coming up here soon. Fisk ain't going anywhere. Fisk, in the comics, he gets blinded and then gets his sight back because surgery in comics. He's not going anywhere. We'll see him in the Echo show. If I am to venture a guess, because fun fact, that shot, pun intended, that last shot, it's reminiscent of a shot in Daredevil comic, which is actually where Echo's shooting Fisk happens. So I think that's a clear indication. I mean, I don't think it's much of a leap to say that if you haven't seen No Way Home, sorry, but Charlie Cox's Matt Murdock we know is in the MCU now. So we'll see him, even if we don't see him suit up as Matt Murdock or as Daredevil, we're going to see him and Fisk in the Echo show. I would bet money. And yet another reason to be excited for that Echo show. But as I wrap up here, guys, I've laid out some of my complaints. I've laid out some stuff I really enjoy. Oh, that was one other complaint I had. In the finale, where Clint goes ahead and is fighting Yelena, and I was actually surprised, because I know that obviously Yelena was out to kill Clint, but I was not expecting to get a Kate Bishop Kingpin fight, which I didn't know I needed, but it shows how clever Kate is. And one of the things that this show has done that really they haven't addressed until now, which I was kind of like, I'm happy you addressed this. Clint has always been more than an archer. Like, he's always had just incredible precision in general and can use other things outside of arrows to go ahead and be precise. So there's this point where he flicks a coin and is able to turn a TV on. And I went, I'm so happy they're addressing that, because again, much like Loki and, his magic, I went, you're not talking about this yet. Oh, you brought up in the show. Okay, someone probably complained enough. So I was really happy that they brought that up. I'm excited to see how Kate begins to use that precision and how Clint gets to use it. But the fact that Kate uses a cufflink, Fisk's own cufflink, to go ahead and beat him, I thought was such a beautiful, just beautiful chef's kiss. But getting the final thoughts, everyone. This is just a great show. It is slow for the first half. I always say I want something to finish stronger than, if I'd rather have something finish strong than, be great for 3 episodes and fall apart in the back half. But so much of the villain aspect hinges on the Fisk twist, which you don't get to the penultimate episode, which in my opinion does hurt the show. It's great once Fisk is introduced, but that is something I go, eh. And then the other complaint that I was about to bring up, when when Clint and Yelena are having their final fight, and Yelena's about to shoot him, he does Nat's whistle that they used to do to each other in Black Widow, which they reference. And Yelena, stops and freezes, because, of course, that was their whistle. And she's like, how do you know that? And Clint goes, Nat's whistle, or Nat's secret whistle, or something like that. I just went, come on, we're over 10 years into the MCU. Trust your audience to just remember that. Or at least put it together from what Yelena said in the line prior. It's not a huge deal, but it was enough to take me out of the moment, out of the show for a second. It's by no means, because I've seen some people go, oh, it's worse than Martha and BVS. It's not even fucking close to that bad. So don't put that on the show. But it was just enough to make me go all right. Again, nitpick, but bothered me. But outside of that, y'all, this is so worth your time. It's 6 episodes, and Yeah, I look forward to rewatching this next Christmas because it takes place during Christmas. It's a Christmas show. Fuck y'all. I'm gonna give this a B plus. Um, I think that is my lowest rating. Yeah, that's my lowest rate. You know what's weird? I can't remember if I gave WandaVision a B plus or an A minus. I remember I was on that cuff. Just in case, I'm gonna change this. Just in case I said the wrong score. I would give WandaVision a B plus. I'd give this an A minus because I did enjoy this more than I enjoyed WandaVision, and I really enjoyed where this leaves off. Yeah, but yeah, this is well worth your time. Really enjoyed it. So for me, my MCU show ranking right now would be Falcon Winter Soldier, Loki, Hawkeye, and then WandaVision. And I haven't finished What If yet, so I will have to go back to that. But yeah, solid A minus for this. But Hawkeye, everyone, what did you think of it? Let us know in the comments. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter at jhunterrealpineapple. You can follow Scott on Twitter at Nearman1st. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts, including SoundCloud, Apple and Google Podcasts, Podbean, Stitcher and iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music, to name a few, at The Real Pineapple. Don't forget to like both our pages on Facebook at The Real Pineapple and Real Pineapple Games. And don't forget to follow us on Twitch. I'm going to be hopping on there. I don't know when, but I will be. You can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/jhunterrealpineapple. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. We will have reviews up here soon for the Matrix Resurrections, pardon me, as well as for The Lost Daughter, which I'm actually prepping that review here tomorrow. I'm really excited to review that, as well as a review for Drive My Car, which I'm really excited to get to that one. And there's some other stuff coming up too. Oh yeah, Ghostbusters Afterlife, gonna have a review up for that. Yeah, we've got a lot of stuff coming on the pipelines, but New Year, we're gonna have a lot coming at y'all soon. So thank you so much again, everyone, for your support. I love y'all very, very much. Please get your COVID shot if you haven't. If you're safe to, take care of each other, wear your masks, give each other a hug. Be safe about it. But thanks again for all your support, everyone, and we'll talk to you soon.